I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through. I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not. Because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling on my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go. The only thing that I know, you were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. What do you think that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity. 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 I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not hear me. No, we're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all. We should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back. Start it from scratch. I won't let you go. No, I can't let you go. 'Cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go. No, baby, I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we get set for race number 15 of the second season of the SRA Duracell Ultra Lite Series. Getting ready here for the conclusion of our mile racetrack trifectas. We were at Hillside. Last week we went to Iowa. Today we are at the Chicago Motor Speedway. Flat oval. Going to be a lot of slipping and sliding around. Going to be a lot of fun to see what these Duracell Ultra Lite Series drivers are able to do here today, as this has been a season of parody. 14 races in the books and 13 different drivers have gone to victory lane. We could add another 15th driver to that list this afternoon. A lot of opportunity for drivers to join Cam Wright Jr. as a repeat winner on the season. We are really congested around the wild card positions for the playoffs, and really you consider we are really in the home stretch for the Lite Series drivers here, including today. Only 6 races remain until we put that playoff grid together. 7 drivers pointing their way in, 3 drivers getting in through wildcard spots. So it's coming down to crunch time really right now, and some proverbial tiebreakers could be taking place here in the upcoming few weeks. Getting ready here for this one, though, it is the last doubleheader for the Lites and the Cup Series drivers for about 3 weeks. And so we got a lot of Cup Series drivers that are trying to get some extra experience for tomorrow afternoon's race here this afternoon in Lites competition. Anthony McCrory being one of those drivers, and he will be the one starting on the pole position here this afternoon. Surprisingly, we've had Cup interlopers the entire season, and we've yet to have a full-time Cup Series driver go to victory lane in a Lite Series race. It's been all the full-time Lites drivers that have gone to victory lane so far. So Anthony trying to be the first Cup Series driver to pick up a Lite Series victory here in Season 2. Alongside of him is going to be Kyle Langland. Now on the flip side, Kyle Langland qualified for the Cup race here tomorrow, but he's also doing double duty as he runs for points here in the Lite Series. For Kyle Langland, however, he's looking to get back into the top 7 in the point standings. It's been a bit of a struggle the last couple of weeks, including last week at Iowa. He dropped 4 spots in the standings. He finds himself coming into this one only 1 point out of 7th in overall standing, so he could easily point his way back up into the top 7, but he's also looking for his first victory on the season too. Langland, a driver that would love to be able to fight a checkered flag this afternoon, have a little bit of extra security that if he doesn't remain in the top 7 in the point standings, he can at least be in the wild card hunt. Remember, Langland was a very consistent driver last season. If we had had a playoff system, no doubt in my mind he would have been in the final 4 to compete for the title. We didn't have playoffs last season, but he finished top 5 in overall standings. Cam Wright Jr. So Cam Wright Jr., we talked about this yesterday during the pole day qualifying session. He's got his 2 victories on the season. He has been an incredible pick over at Southern Cross Racing to drive that number 95 machine. However, we have seen a little chink in his armor the last couple of weeks as Roberto Crown Jr. has been able to cut into the points lead he had accumulated, and last week at Iowa, we saw an exchange for the points lead. Biggest thing, I think, was the biggest Achilles heel for this 95 car, at least for the last couple of weeks, was their failure to qualify well. You look at the tracks that we've been at previously, Hillside, track where it's very congested. It's easy to pass, but you have to take your time doing so, and you're back in the hornet's nest at the drop of the green flag. Last week, Iowa Speedway, another short track. Yes, you can make passes, but again, it takes 5, 6, 7 laps to set up that pass. You cannot fly to the front immediately. The poor qualifying results, I think, translated into the poor finishing results for the 95 team. That's where Roberto Crown Jr. was able to close up the gap, eventually take the points lead. They have righted the ship, at least here this week, qualifying in the 3rd position. We'll see if good starting track position could get Cam Wright Jr. back on track, and who knows, he may stand alone as the only 3-time winner on the season by the end of this afternoon. And Dave Smith's going to line up on the outside of row number 2. Dave Smith, a former winner on the season back at Lucas Oil Raceway, another short track, very flat oval, so maybe that will be in good stead for him this afternoon at a track like the Chicago Motor Speedway, granted longer in track length, a mile, as opposed to the short track of Lucas Oil. But Dave Smith, his situation coming into this one is he's got that victory, but guess what? He's not in a wild card position. He's actually the 2nd car outside of the final wild card position, because you got a clump of drivers that find themselves 10th through 12th in points with a victory. Meanwhile, Dave Smith, Cole Coybe, Michael Turner, some of our winners from very early on the season, they're mired down between 18th and 21st. So a second victory here this afternoon would skyrocket Dave Smith up not only in the point standings, but also in the wild card feature. It would put him up undoubtedly into the number 1 wild card spot heading into these drivers' next race, which will be in 3 weeks' time at the Bluegrass State Kentucky Speedway. We saw Cody Majorek add his name to the list of new drivers to go to victory lane last week at the Iowa Speedway. Majorek moved up 6 spots in the standings. He comes into this one in the number 1 wild card position. Good starting track position once again for that 70 car out of Joanna Atwood Motorsports, as he'll roll off from the 5th position. Where does everybody else start? We'll find out in a minute. We're going down trackside to get those most famous words in motorsports here from Chicago.
Drivers, start your engines.
31 drivers getting ready to take the green flag here this afternoon. I believe we counted 5 Cup Series drivers taking part in this one, and you will see them all on your starting lineup right side of your screen. So Roberto Crown Jr., who starts mid-pack, comes in as the new points leader. He's got 3 points in hand over Cam Wright Jr. David Dixon is 41 points back in 3rd. Aubrey Powell now 4th in the standings, 43 points back. And Colin Grace is currently 5th, 50 points back. All the top 5 former winners on the season. Eli Bright is the highest driver in the points without a victory. He's 6th in points. And 7th in the stands is Jordan Anderson. Those drivers, if the season were to have come to a close last week at Iowa, would have pointed their way into a playoff position. Your 3 wildcard spots, all held by former winners who currently sit in 11th, 12th, or make that 10th, 11th, and 12th in points. That'd be Cody Majorek, Skylar Taylor, and Juan Garcia. Well, we've never had a Cup Series driver win a Light Series race. Anthony McCrory looking to go coast to coast here this afternoon as we are ready to go racing at the Chicago Motor Speedway. Three wide mid-pack. Voiles drove it in deep on the top. McCrory drew back even through the center of the corner off. Now he'll drive it in deep on the inside of turn 3. Still side by side for the top position. Anthony now going to clear as they make their way off of turn number 4, and he will lead lap number 1. Still 3 wide, almost 4 wide further back here. That's Autumn Brooks, Dave Smith, Eli Bright, Chris Dollarton going into 1. This track very spacious. Still 4 wide further back. That's points leader Roberto Crown Jr. in the middle of all this. Low banking though, only 6 degrees of banking available to these drivers going into 1 and 3. Contact made. That's Roberto Crown Jr. up into Colin Grace. Couple of former winners on the season. Congested back there again. Brody Kupski, Jordan Anderson, Dylan Young. This 4 wide is just making its way from the middle of the pack all the way towards the rear. Now we settle to about 3 wide, 3 rows deep. Mike Tellier tried to clear himself up, but Roberto Crown Jr. was to his right rear quarter panel. Absolute pandemonium from the mid-pack to the rear of the field as drivers trying to get all the track position they can. Meanwhile, McCrory loses the lead. Daniel Voiles got to his inside. Daniel will go to the point. David Dixon will move to second, and caution is out. Yellow flag is out for the first time here this afternoon. One would have to assume it was near the rear of the field where we saw the 3 and on occasion 4 wide racing. And looks like Chris Dollarton may have paid the price for it. Mike Tellier there as well in the 17 car. So caution out for the first time here this afternoon. Some front end damage on both the Ford Mustangs of Tellier and Dollarton. Here's a look at what happened. It actually doesn't even start with either of them. It actually starts with the 8 of Wes McCoy. As we bring it back for the replay, keep an eye on the white car center of your screen as they make their way into turn 3. He's going to get some help from Juan Garcia. Spins him out right in front of Dollarton. Some contact as well for Roberto Crown Jr., our points leader. And then Mike Tellier with some contact into Dollarton, giving him that little buckle on the hood as well. Almost looked like from that shot like Wes McCoy just got run over. Heavy braking zones going into turns 1 and 3. You see right there, he's just pushing him. Pushing that 8 into the corner. Eventually it snaps loose. Some contact as well for the 60 of Autumn Brooks. And you can see some left side damage on the Haas Racing Toyota of Wes McCoy. So caution out for the first time here this afternoon after Langland took the lead from McCrory. Dixon got by for second. McCrory slipped back to third. Cam Wright Jr., Nathan Stapleton, your top 5. Looks like Wes McCoy came down pit road for repairs to the left side of that machine. Returns to the racetrack. I do not believe that either the 17 or the 40 came to pit road. I'm also being told that the 40 car is being hit with a black flag penalty for passing under yellow. We'll follow up on that. I don't know if he can serve that penalty here under this caution period, or if you'll have to wait until we go back green. If he has to serve it here when we go back green flag racing, I think will end up losing a lap. Might be able to get out just ahead of the leaders. We'll have to wait and see. Looks like he is actually on pit road now and serving that penalty, so he will just be EOL. They have actually cleared the black flag penalty on the 40 car. So early yellow, absolute mayhem there at the drop of the green flag. 3 wide, 4 wide, several rows deep. Somehow we only got away with about 3 cars sustaining damage from that incident, but we will have to keep tabs on Autumn Brooks and Roberto Crown Jr. Autumn's still up in the top 15 in 14th, Roberto Crown Jr. in 22nd. Neither of those drivers came to pit road. Only drivers that pit under this caution period, Dollarton and Wes McCoy. So Kyle Langland, we mentioned about the fact that he is looking for his first win of the season. He is the second highest driver in the point standings that has not yet gone to victory lane. And it's interesting, too, Kyle Langland has not necessarily been a flashy driver this season. He's been consistent, but he's not been consistently at the front. He's got 7 top 10s coming into this race, which is tied for second most, but he's only got 1 top 5. That is the lowest of any of the drivers inside of the top 10, with the exception of Eli Bright, who himself also has only 1 top 5 finish. So maybe the most dominant, I know it's only 6 laps in, but maybe the most dominant looking 26 that we've seen so far here this season, as he gets us back under the green flag. Side by side for second, 3 wide for fourth, Cole Koibe, Nathan Stapleton, Cam Wright Jr. McCrory took the second spot from David Dixon, as now he'll set his sights to get back up there to the race lead. We'll continue to follow this 3 wide just inside the midway portion of the top 10. Stapleton going to pull away from this. Settle back out to double file now for the 5th position. 3 wide behind them, though. Sean Galligan looking low on Daniel Voiles and Cam Wright Jr. Eli Bright just behind them in the 20 car. We already documented about him being 6th in points, but still looking for that first victory. Trying to get some redemption from Sonoma, no doubt. Might have been some contact right there. Galligan moving Cole Koibe up the racetrack. Koibe might have been in the door of Cam Wright Jr. as they made their way off the final corner. Good battling here. This is for 6th place. Looks like Galligan might take it as Koibe up the racetrack there through 1 and 2. Galligan will clear. Daniel Voiles starting to make his way forward as well. One of our Cup Series drivers in the field here this afternoon. I think I mentioned we had 5 Cup Series drivers in this race. Anthony McCrory, obviously the highest running of those, in the 2nd position. Daniel Voiles in 9th. Bryce Egan, making his 2nd Lights start of the season, is 15th. Bryce failed to qualify for the Cup race here tomorrow afternoon. And then we've also got Jack Mitchell in the All-Star car out of Adrenaline Motorsports in 23rd. Dylan Young in the All-Star car for Bishop Family Racing in 17th. Chris Dollarton, I said that they had cleared the black flag. It looked like they had, but they actually hadn't cleared the black flag. He had to come down, serve the penalty here under green. Returns to the racetrack still on the tail end of the lead lap, so he's hoping for a yellow flag to save him to get back to the tail end of the field. Currently just about maybe 15, 20 car lengths ahead of race leader Kyle Langland. David Dixon was looking for the 2nd spot on Anthony McCrory, but Anthony with a great exit through the middle lane off of turn 2. Holds off David Dixon for the time being. Battle for 4th. Sean Galligan on the move. Looking low on Nathan Stapleton, and he'll pick up that spot. Cody Majorek, last week's winner, now looking to crack the top 5 as he'll get to the inside of the 97. If we can get into a long green flag run, I guarantee you we're going to know who the good long run machines are. This is a racetrack where it is all about preserving your tires. Only 6 degrees of banking to work with. The cars slip and slide on entry. They slide on exit. You got to take care of those front tires as well as the rear tires, because that's where your corner exit speed is on the straightaways. And at least looks like in the early going, Sean Galligan has a very good long run car. Has just got his nose chopped by David Dixon. That's the battle going on for the 3rd position. Sean Galligan comes into this one currently in the 24th position in points, and while we have a limited number of spots available for drivers to point or win their way into the playoff system as opposed to the Cup Series side, Cup gets 16 drivers locked in, Lights Series only has 10 drivers, there is still mathematically time for drivers that look like they're outside of a potential playoff position to make some moves, to get into the postseason. A couple of victories before the close of the regular season. You jump up into a wild card spot. Consistency could get you up at least up into the top 10 area. Top 10, top 15. You get a victory along the way. You put yourself up there with those other one-time winners. And Galligan just got the third spot from David Dixon. Cody Majoric as well moving up, and Cole Koibe was able to close in on this four-car fight inside of the top 5. He'll now take it 3 wide. This would be, I believe, for the 5th position. But I'm just going to give you a list of drivers that you cannot count out of this just yet. Galligan, Mike Tellier, Nathan Fogler, Cat Batson, Brody Kupski, Michael Turner, Dave Smith. Do not sleep on these drivers. 6 races may not seem like a lot, and, to some drivers it's not a whole lot of time, but it is a lot of opportunity. How about Jackson Haywood running there in the 9th position? I know that, 9th place right now is not necessarily up at the front, but the reason I want to shout out Jackson Haywood is, if you didn't tune in to pole day qualifying yesterday, Jackson qualified in 8th, and then as soon as the checkered flag for the session came out, contact between himself and Wes McCoy sent him up into the outside wall. He had some right rear damage at the close of the session. He didn't obviously lose his qualifying position, but they elected not to go to a backup car either. They kept the car that had the speed and made repairs overnight. That car's still soldiering on, looking good inside of the top 10, 9th position. Good job there. Good work by that 93 team to keep him competitive here this weekend. As this is 2nd place, Galligan just got around his Garage 55 teammate Anthony McCrory, but now he's got to make up the almost 3.5-second gap between himself and race leader Kyle Langland, who has been able to now catch up to Chris Dollerton. Dollerton going to do all he can to keep the 26 in his rearview mirror because he does not want to go a lap down. A caution right now would keep Dollerton on the lead lap. So Dollerton going to fight, and this may slow up Voiles, or make that Langland just enough. I'm thinking of the 26 with the Cup Series side. This may slow up Langland enough for Galligan and company to be able to close in and fight for the race lead. Langland try to get back to the throttle to clear the 40. Not quite. Off of turn 2. He's going to send it here into 3. Hope that it sticks. Dollerton does the same, though. Trying to stay to that right rear quarter panel. Who gets back to the throttle on exit? It's not going to be either one of them. Langland, I think, is clear, though. That camera shot off the corner made it look like Dollerton was still there, and Dollerton, he's not going to go away. Dollerton's going to keep the fight there on the race leader. That battling just alone ended up allowing 2nd place on back to close up by 0.3 of a second. Pit strategy will obviously have to come into play, one would think. I mean, we're looking right now. I mean, Sean Galligan, yes, he's been having to get through some traffic, so he's used up his tires in the process. But Galligan's fastest lap was a 33.955. That last time by with clean air, he ran a 35.300. That is a 2.5 seconds of fall off. That last time by, he just ran a 34.984. So that's a second of fall off right there in terms of the tires. So we're already starting to see the abrasiveness of this type of a racetrack on the Goodyears. And you kind of work that into calculations. Right now, Galligan about 3.5 seconds behind Kyle Langland. If we end up having green flag pit stops and Galligan does the short pit strategy, that's about a second and a half that he'd be able to make up on those fresh tires on his outlap. Let's go back a little further in the field and find the battle for the points lead. Cam Wright Jr. qualified in the 3rd spot, but he has been kicked up to the outside line quite a bit in this race. You see it even there again, put up there 3 wide. Last time by, he was scored in the 15th position, so while they had great qualifying speed, it is not translated to a very fast race car in race trim. So that's the bad news. The good news is he's running head and shoulders better than Roberto Crown Jr. Roberto Crown Jr. right now mired all the way back here in the 28th position. Now we do have to remember that Roberto Crown Jr. did make a little bit of contact in that wreck that took place in the middle of 3 and 4. I don't know if that's affecting him or not. What I can tell you though is he has not made up any progress since we went back green. Now trying to make a move on Ralph Mason for 27th, but we could have another flip-flop for the points lead heading into our next race, which will be in 3 weeks' time. We'll have the Cup Series drivers standing alone for the next 2 weeks when they are at New Hampshire next week, Donkey Kong Jungle Raceway the following week, and then these Lites drivers will be back in 3 weeks' time to join the Cup Series drivers when we're at the mile-and-a-half Kentucky Speedway. Kyle Langland, who's going to be pulling the double duty this week. He'll be making another start in the Cup Series tomorrow afternoon. Looking really good here in the early going, a third of the way through this race. Sean Galligan, though, has been able to break away from the drivers he was battling for second, and he is closing up on Chris Dollerton, in turn closing up on Kyle Langland. You look at their lap times last time by, Galligan was almost 0.4 of a second faster. So that shows what clean air can do. And you can see that they are on the same straightaway. They do have the lap car of Dollerton in between them, though. Cody Majorek holding down the third spot. Nathan Stapleton fourth. Both of these drivers during the span of these mile-and-a-half racetracks have come away with really good finishes. Stapleton the top 5 a couple of weeks ago at Hillside. Majorek obviously the victory last week at Iowa. And both running solidly again here today. 3 wide for 5th. Paul Sitter McCrory kicked up to the 3rd lane. Dixon in the middle. Cole Koibe will get a 2-for-1 special through 3 and 4. As he will move from 7th to the 5th position. Dixon all over his back bumper going into 1. Daniel Voiles starting to close in on these 3. So Bryce Egan was one of 3 drivers that failed to qualify for the Cup race here tomorrow afternoon. But back behind the wheel of the 11 out of Trackhouse Racing. We saw him make his first start last week at Iowa. Brought it home in the 15th position after qualifying 7th. And right now looking for back-to-back top 15 finishes. He's now into the top 10. This is 9th place battle between himself and Jackson Haywood. Galligan is closing, guys. He was 2.5 seconds back. He's now 1.5 seconds back, and that car has a lot of long-run speed. Now catching up to Chris Dollerton. Let's see how quickly he can get around the lap car. Takes it to the inside here through 1 and 2. Not going to necessarily have the preferred line for a good corner exit. He may lose a little bit of ground here to Langland as he's having to deal with the Shell Pennzoil Mustang. Ooh, look at this. Oh, was there contact? Is Galligan saying, hey, buddy, get out of my way. I'm trying to get up here to this race lead. He'll draw alongside of Dollerton off of turn 4. And Majorek and Stapleton are starting to close up as well. Their lap times have been looking really good the last couple of circuits. They've been anywhere from 2 to 3/10 faster than both Galligan and Langland. As Galligan continues to work against the 40. It's not a battle for position, but let's go on board with the 62 of Sean Galligan. Actually, he's going to clear Dollerton off of turn 4. Let's go on board with him now as we watch him hunting the 26 for the race lead and what it sounds like to make a lap around the Chicago Motor Speedway. What we saw with that onboard with Sean Galligan, it looks like he's got a car that he can throw into the corner and it sticks. You can visibly see that his strength was on corner entry. Kyle Lang looks like he's got a car a little bit better on corner exit, so they kind of cancel each other out just a little bit there. Langland able to open up a little bit of a gap back to Galligan. Again, remember, Langland only really had to battle Anthony McCurry to take the race lead. Since then, he set sail. Hasn't had to really abuse his tires. Galligan's had to work his way up through traffic. Just recently had to get by the lap car of Dullerton. So he would be, I would assume, at a tire grip deficit to the 26. We are just a couple of laps away from halfway as well. We talk about tires, we didn't talk about fuel. If these drivers do have to make a pit stop, which I assume they do have to make, they should be able to make it on one stop now. They just had to get past halfway. But now the question is, what do you do if you cannot make it on fuel? What is the strategy called? Do you split this race in half, come to pit road just around the halfway point, maybe lap 40? Or do you stretch it as far as the fuel will allow you to, then come down pit road and take on tires for the final maybe 15, 20 laps of this race? I mean, we've already established, and we're looking at Langland right now, there's a second and a half, 2 seconds to be gained on fresh tires. And Galligan is less than a second and a half off the back bumper of the 26. So if he leapfrogs Langland, then Galligan will more than likely, if we end up having a green flag pit stop cycle, then Galligan would cycle out to the race lead. But Galligan's starting to close up the gap once again. We'll keep tabs on this, but let's look a little further back, see if there's any battles going on inside of the top 10 or so. Well, look at this. Bryce Egan is going to throw down the gauntlet from the 8th position, and he's going to be the first one to hit pit road. I like the strategy. Bryce Egan coming down. This is a regularly scheduled pit stop. Here comes Dylan Young as well. Points leader Roberto Crown Jr. and former winner of the season Craig Batson. Nathan Fogler is in. And here comes Langland and Galligan together on the same lap. This is going to maybe be the battle for the race lead when everything cycles around, as Majoric and Stapleton stay out an extra lap, as does David Dixon. Cole Coybe comes in. Pole sitter McCurry stays out. Let's follow this down pit road. Langland qualified on the outside of the front row, so he'll have a pit stall further up. There's Galligan pulling into his stall. He'll be hoping for a clean exit. Now it comes down to the pit crews, because we're going to be even footing on tires. Galligan down and away. He does have to swing around the 23 of Daniel Voiles. And they're going to be just about the same distance leaving pit road as they were coming in. Look at Galligan closing up on Langland on that exit. And now Stapleton's coming in from the race lead, right behind the drivers that will more than likely cycle around to the front. Galligan had the best long-run car there of the two between himself and Langland, but this is an opportunity with this pit stop for the 26 team to make adjustments. So Stapleton in. There's Bryce Egan, who was one of the first ones on to pit road from the 8th position. It'll be interesting to see where he cycles around to when all is said and done. McCurry, Dixon down and away. Majoric just completed his pit stop. He pitted from 3rd. Look at Galligan able to just coast it right in on the entry to the corner, right up to the back bumper of Langland. This is going to be the battle for the race lead. Galligan looking low. They just bypassed Nathan Stapleton, who's coming off of pit lane, so now put Langland to the lead. Galligan to 2nd. It's going to be close between Majoric and Stapleton for third. Give it to Majoric. Cole Koibe will go to fourth, and looks like Stapleton will cycle to fifth. Net gain of 2 spots for Bryce Egan with the early call to pit road. He'll go from 8th to 6th. David Dixon 7th, and Daniel Voiles in 8th. Jack Mitchell now up to 9th. And pole sitter Anthony McCrory looks like he will cycle in 10th. There's some good battling there. Just inside of the top 10 now. Majoric just got bypassed by Cole Koibe. Stapleton putting the pressure here on Bryce Egan. I think Egan actually just passed Stapleton for 5th. And a good battle here for 7th. Daniel Voiles and David Dixon. Voiles with the inside line advantage, and he'll clear to move into P7. So both of the World NOS Racing Mustangs up inside of the top 10, with Langland currently out in front. Majoric trying to get around the lap machine of Chris Dollerton. And Bryce Egan looking now for the 4th position. Trying to get around the outside of Majoric is the 11, though he does have the 40 of Dollerton in front of him. And Stapleton going to make it a 3-man fight for the 4th spot. Back up at the front. Galligan continuing to put the pressure on Langland, but Langland not giving Galligan a lane through 1 and 2. Keeping it pinned right down to the white line. Galligan may have to start searching around here as Langland running every line that Galligan is. So what he's doing is he is putting dirty air on the front end of Galligan's race car, which is getting him tight on exit. You see right there? See that gap? How it opened up? Galligan could not get back to the throttle through the center of the corner. That lost him straight line speed down the front stretch. So Langland's doing a great job of mirror driving right now. I'm sure his spotter is feeding him information as to what line the 62 is running. And now Langland's starting to try to open up some distance. Galligan going to try to rely on that long run speed to close up as both drivers run about a groove off the bottom here through 3 and 4. Kyle Langland has obviously led the most laps so far as we are closing in on 30 laps to go. That'll be his 40th lap out in front. 2 laps led so far for Nathan Stapleton, 1 for Cody Majoric, and that's it. Those 2 drivers leading laps during the cycle of green flag pit stops, which will see us clear to the end of this race. They can make it the rest of the way on fuel, so now it just comes down to tire conservation and lap time. And 2 cars, inverted numbers, battling out here for the victory. Both drivers looking for their first wins on the season. For Langland, a win would move him up into the top 7 in the overall points. For Sean Galligan, a victory could put him potentially into a wild card position. I think he would need maybe a second victory between now and Auto Club. But having that first win always makes things a little bit easier. Well, it is going to be a very interesting points day for the top 2 in overall standings because Roberto Crown Jr., after the cycle of pit stops, he is the last car on the lead lap in the 30th position. The only car beneath him is the lap car of Chris Dollerton. So this is not going to be a good points-paying day for the current points leader, but I think soon to be replaced points leader heading into Kentucky. Cam Ray Jr. is not going to have a great day either, regardless of the fact that it looks like he's going to take the points lead. He's mired back outside the top 15, just barely inside the top 20 in the 19th spot. So neither of our top 2 in points really doing all that well here today. Driver that is doing well is David Dixon, so it will be interesting to see just how much of a gap he's able to close up between himself and the juniors. Right now he's battling with Bryce Egan for the 7th spot. Dixon came into this race 41 points out of the points lead, so he will not obviously be able to take the points lead this afternoon, but he can definitely close it up, make it a 3-man fight for the regular season championship with 5 races left to go once we leave here and get ready to duke it out in the Bluegrass State. This is third place. Nathan Stapleton, looking low on Cole Koibe. These two are actually not that far behind the top two, so I don't know if we can necessarily just call it a battle between Langland and Galligan for this race win. If these two are able to keep putting together the lap times they are, as now Stapleton makes his way past, we could have a couple more drivers in the conversation for this checkered flag, as Galligan has completed the pass around Langland. Langland crosses him over back into turn one. So the battle for the lead is on. Galligan able to get around the 26, but the 26 is going to try to pass him right back. And watch on the right side of your screen there, just barely coming into frame, was the red JLB.com hood of Nathan Stapleton. These two keep battling. Stapleton's going to be up here as well, as Galligan through the middle groove to 3 and 4 is going to hang on to the top spot. New leader 62, Sean Galligan. Langland drops back to second place, and caution is out. Closing on 20 laps to go. The yellow flag is going to wave. I think that was Autumn Brooks I saw up ahead. Looks like something might have happened to the Ghost Mazda. And this is going to now set us up for around a 20-lap shootout. Do you come to pit road for tires? They were about a second off of their fastest lap here on fall-off during that battle for the race lead. And this changes up everything. I mean, this brings everybody back into the conversation now. Let's take a look and see what brought out this yellow. A game changer with the caution flying on lap 51. This was over in turn one. Battle around the 25th position. Mike Tellier, Nathan Fogler, Autumn Brooks, Aubrey Powell, all in this mix. And it looks like Aubrey just gets into the right rear quarter panel of Autumn Brooks. Hooks her around into the outside wall. And caution flies. Wow. So definitely cannot give this win to Galligan or Langland now. Here's another look at it. Yeah, you just see Aubrey drives it in deeper. And unfortunately, hooks the right rear quarter panel of the 60 of Autumn Brooks, spins her around, and some damage on the rear end, especially that right rear of Autumn Brooks, sets us up here for what's going to be our only second restart of the afternoon. We had an early caution that saw Wes McCoy make some contact. Had some damage as well for Chris Dollerton, Mike Tellier. Second caution for cause, and we will end up getting this restart with less than 20 laps to go. Sean Galligan, the leader. Kyle Langland now second. Nathan Stapleton up to third. Cole Koibe in fourth, and Cody Majoric looking for back-to-back victories, completes the top five. Daniel Voiles will be sixth. David Dixon in seventh. Bryce Egan, Jack Mitchell, Anthony McCurry. That is the top 10. Also important to note that this restart is going to be with more than 10 laps to go. So our lap machine of Chris Dollerton will be lined up on the inside line for this restart, which means that Galligan will not have the preferred inside line going into turn one unless he can get himself a good launch on this upcoming restart. Dollerton, in turn, will look to get by Galligan, get his lap back, and hope for a quick yellow to get back to the tail end of the field. Still time for that scenario to play out. Let's see if we get the lights off on the Chevrolet Camaro pace car this time. We did not have anybody come to pit road under this caution period, including Autumn Brooks, surprisingly enough. We would have thought she would have come down pit road for a little bit of damage repair, but that was not the case. And there you see lights out, so Dollerton will pull up to the inside as the only lap machine. All 31 cars that took the green flag are still in this race, 30 of them on the lead lap. Now, so far this season, a 0 in the win column for the entire organization at Garage 55. Galligan trying to get them their first win since they migrated down here to the Lite Series. Of course, newly formed team branching off from Fortnite Squad Racing. They've got 3 full-time entries up in the Cup Series with Anthony McCrory, Nick Gunther, and Autumn Brooks. As here we go, it will be officially 20 laps to the finish on this restart. Galligan through the restart zone, up through the gears. Can he clear the 40 before they get to turn 1, or will Dollarton stay to the inside? Galligan looks like he is clear. He'll get down to the bottom. Langland way up the track there through 1 and 2. Stapleton's going to clear him to move into the second spot. Now Stapleton looking to get by Dollarton quickly so he can set his sights on Galligan in the top position. Langland looks on in third. Battle for fourth, Majoric and Koibe. Majoric looks like he's going to get the spot off of turn number 4. Daniel Voiles now to the bottom on Koibe. McCurry there as well. Here comes Jordan Anderson, former winner on the season. Making his way up into the top 10 as we're 3 wide for 7th. McCrory, Dixon, and Koibe. And battle is on for the lead. Stapleton to the inside of Galligan. Langland trying to get by the lap car of Dollarton. Stapleton's going to have the preferred line down here into 1. Galligan's going to swing it wide around 1 and 2. Tries to pick up the throttle to get back alongside off of the corner on the back straightaway. He'll do so. Not clear, though. They'll keep this battle into 3. We saw Galligan able to hold off Langland here through 3 and 4 on the top side. But Stapleton is clear. And Nathan Stapleton will go to the front. Galligan drops to second. Langland under fire for third. Majoric was looking to his outside, now tucks in line in between the World NOS Racing Fords. Just behind Langland, just ahead of Voiles. Caution's actually out. Caution's out for the 3rd time this afternoon. And we'll get ready for yet another restart as Stapleton, the new race leader here at Chicago. And it looks like one Nathan leading, one Nathan bringing out this yellow, Nathan Fogler in the 13. Let's see what happened here with the Duracell Toyota Supra. This was off turn 2. Hard to tell from that angle, but it almost looked like Brody Kupski may have turned Mike Tellier in the left rear quarter panel down into Nathan Fogler's right rear. We'll get another camera shot here, see if we can determine if that indeed was the case. Watch the red 41. Yeah, right there. Slight contact into the left rear quarter panel of the 17, turns him down into the right rear of the 13, and Nathan Fogler pays the price. Pretty good lick into the outside wall. Obviously loss of track position. You can see the left side damage on his machine. So that's going to set us up for yet another restart. This one's going to be inside of 15 laps to go. Nathan Stapleton looking to continue the streak of first-time winners here in the Lite Series. Stapleton was a full-time driver last season. Did not find victory lane. One of the few drivers that has run full-time in seasons 1 and 2 of Lite Series competition. Stapleton coming into this one 15th in overall points. A victory would obviously put him in wildcard conversation, maybe even up into the top 7 in overall points. Points are still very close from about 3rd down through 17th, 18th. A lot of movement can take place there in these final 6 races of the regular season. Well, a reminder to everybody on the future schedule, be a little bit of a break for these Lite Series drivers at the conclusion of this one. We've got the Cup Series drivers here tomorrow afternoon to cap off our weekend from the Chicago Motor Speedway. That will be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's just the Cup drivers for the next couple of weeks. They'll be heading to New Hampshire Motor Speedway next week, and then they will be getting ready for road course racing at the very interesting terrain of Donkey Kong Raceway Park. We'll then see the Lights drivers back with the Cup drivers in 3 weeks' time when we will be at the Kentucky Speedway. Some interesting but traditional racetracks, really, to finish out this regular season for the Light Series drivers. After Kentucky, we'll be at the mile-and-a-half track at Homestead. Watkins Glen International will be the final road course stop of the regular season. We go to Hanford Speedway, which is kind of like a mini Pocono, really good racetrack. And then to close out the regular season, of course, it'll be the doubleheader for both the Lights and the Cup Series drivers to put together the respective playoff grids at the 2 Mile Auto Club Speedway. More than 10 laps to go still, so Dollarton will line up on the inside of Stapleton. Still looking to get that lap back is Chris Dollarton after having to serve the pass-through penalty under green for, we understand, passing under yellow during the first caution. Dollarton has not recovered since. Stapleton is going to be the race leader. Galligan lines up in second. Kyle Langland, who's led the most laps today, now back in third. Majorek in fourth. Voiles fifth. Then it's Anthony McCurry, Jordan Anderson, Cole Coybe, Eli Bright, and David Dixon. That is your top 10 as we get ready to go back green flag racing with 13 laps to go here this afternoon. Stapleton did not get as good a launch as Galligan did, it seems. Though he may be able to clear Dollarton going into one, and yes, he will. Galligan up the track through 1 and 2. And Langland will take the second spot from him. Looks like that second place car on the outside going into 1 just really pays the price on entry. It happened to Langland on the previous restart, happened to Galligan on this most recent restart. Galligan will hold off Majorek, though. He'll stay in the third spot. Langland trying to get around Dollarton, the lap car between himself and the race leader. Dives to the inside of Dollarton into 1. Galligan right behind. Now as Langland clears the 40. Galligan next in line to try and get by Dollarton. Then it'll be Majorek and Voiles. Stapleton trying to run away with this lead as everybody having to get around the slower 40 car. Langland clear of traffic, though, now sets his sights on the 97. Next time by, be 10 laps to go here from the Chicago Motor Speedway. That last time by, tick quicker in lap time was the 97. Not by much, by about 100th maybe. As we'll fall further back here, Daniel Voiles. How about Jordan Anderson? Good runs for both of the Jordan Anderson Chevrolet Camaros again this week, with Majorek currently in 4th, Anderson last time by in 6th. Anderson, who came into this one, the driver 7th in points. He's technically the cut line driver for the points-paying playoff positions. He'll open up a little bit of distance between himself and that positioning in the standings, one would think, if he finishes out inside the top 10. Daniel Voiles kind of boxed in there right behind him. Pole sitter Anthony McCurry, been up in the top 10 all day. He'll try and get alongside of Voiles and take the 6th position. As Galligan just now going to make his way around Chris Dollarton. So he's going to have 9 laps of racing left to try to catch not only Langland for 2nd, but Nathan Stapleton for the race lead. And I'm not going to lie, with what we saw between the 2nd and the 3rd caution, you know, I was giving Galligan the fastest long-run car award as he was able to reel in Langland and eventually take the lead. But remember, we saw Nathan Stapleton closing in on both of them. Stapleton might actually have the fastest long-run car here today. He's got the fastest lap of the entire session at a 33.847. Less than 10 to go. Langland trying to close up on Stapleton. Wadded up behind them, third place on back. Majoric putting the pressure on Galligan. 3 wide further back for a brief moment with Jordan Anderson, Anthony McCurry, and Cole Coybe. Starting to get a couple of other former winners trying to snipe some top 10s late. Juan Garcia, our winner from Charlotte, is back in 11th, and just behind him I saw Colin Grace, our winner from Hillside, the track that began this trifecta of mile racetracks here in back-to-back-to-back weeks. He was in 12th last time by. Keeping an eye up there towards the front. Looks like the gap's still about the same, about anywhere between 9/10 of a second to a full second from Stapleton back to Langland. Galligan with a rear deck lid full of last week's winner, Cody Majoric. Voiles trying to close in on this as well. Juan Garcia is on the move. He is now going to get by Cole Coybe, pick him up to the 8th position, and looking to continue to climb up the running order here late, as he's got Anthony McCurry and Jordan Anderson just ahead. Cam Wright Jr., we talked about the struggles for both the top 2 in points. He was back, I think, 19th? I think is where we saw him last. He's up to 14th place now, so good pickup by the soon-to-be new points leader, as he'll take it 3 wide up top with Eli Bright and Colin Grace. That's not going to pan out for him there through 3 and 4. Galligan got clear on Majoric. Now Voiles to the inside of Cody. That's for 4th place. As up ahead, there is absolutely no battle for the lead. Langland has lost touch with Stapleton, who is putting down flyer lap times. That last time by, he was 0.3 of a second faster than Langland, and laps are ticking away. Well, I think it's safe to say, one of few drivers that ran full-time last season, the inaugural season of the Duracell Ultra Lite Series, into this season, Nathan Stapleton would have one of the longest winless streaks here in Duracell Ultra Lite Series. And he is en route to snapping that here today at the Chicago Motor Speedway. Another solid lap, 0.6 of a second faster than Langland. Stapleton is setting sail. And I would say that the caution would be something he wouldn't want to see, but I don't think it would really make much of a difference now. If the yellow were to come out, I think it would end the race under caution. So, whether he has this dominating, commanding lead, or he ends up crossing the line just a bumper ahead behind the pace car, Stapleton is definitely looking like he may have this thing wrapped up. 2 to go next time by. Voiles did get around Sean Galligan and Cody Majoric, so move him up to the 3rd spot. World NOS Racing going to have 2 of their Fords on the podium if Voiles is able to hang on. Galligan, Majoric 4th and 5th. McCurry, Juan Garcia in a battle for 6th position behind the lap car of Chris Dollerton. 2 laps to go for Nathan Stapleton. Well, NS Racing, when we had the Gen 6 car for Season 1, they were in the Ford Fusion. They stayed with the Blue Ovals, moving over here to Season 2 into the Dark Horse Mustang. They've been consistent here ever since the All-Star break. And now they are en route to their first victory overall, as the white flag is displayed over the hood of the JBL Powerade Dark Horse Ford. Stapleton with nearly 3.5 seconds back to Kyle Langland. Nobody close for Nathan Stapleton, who has nearly a full straightaway all to himself. He'll make his way through 3 and 4. Led 20-plus laps here this afternoon, and he will add his name to the list of those that have gotten their first win this season in Duracell Ultra Lights. Nathan Stapleton is going to pick up the checkered flag here this afternoon at the Chicago Motor Speedway. Langland 2nd, World NOS Racing 2-3, with Voiles finishing on the podium. Nathan Stapleton, who was 15th in points coming into this one, had the top 5 run a couple of weeks ago at Hillside. The mile program for this team really, really good. And now with that checkered flag, he has now put himself into the conversation for a playoff position, whether it be points paying or wild card, not sure. There's still 5 races yet to determine that, but he is definitely now in the conversation with his first career win in Duracell Ultra Light Series competition. Well done to that 97 team, who definitely, I think we could tell, were the best long-run car. And what did I say at the beginning of this race? I felt like it was going to come down, if we had the long green flag runs, it was going to come down to who had the best long-run car. Finishing results are official. Here's a look at it. We gave you the podium. Sean Galligan going to bring it home in the 4th position. Best showing he's had all season. Cody Majoric, back-to-back top 5 runs. Got the victory last week at Iowa. 5th place here the following week at Chicago. Majoric was 10th in points coming into this one in a wild card spot. I think he could point his way up into the top 7 with his top 5 performance. Juan Garcia maybe as well. He was 12th in points, and he'll finish in 6th. Anthony McCray, after starting on the pole, brings it home in 7th. He was the 2nd highest finishing of our Cup drivers in this field. Voiles the highest. David Dixon, great run in 8th, as David has really turned it up as of late. He was in a bit of a slump midway portion of the season, and the last couple of weeks, the finishes have looked really good out of this 45. He moved up a couple of spots to 3rd in the standings after last week, and now another top 10 run this afternoon at Chicago. Jordan Anderson, good comeback run for him, as he'll finish in 9th. Both of the Joanna Atwood Motorsports Chevrolets in the top 10. And Eli Bright, the consistency continues for that 20 car, as he is trying to at least point his way into a playoff spot. He will net yet another top 10 finish here this afternoon. Cam Wright Jr., he will be the new points leader heading into next week. Good comeback run for him as well. A driver that was struggling, had good qualifying effort up inside the top 5, faded outside of the top 20, and battled back to at least finish in the top 15 with a 13th place performance. A couple other drivers I'm noticing here as well that had some good comeback runs. Ralph Mason, we saw him back near dead last after the cycle green flag pit stops. He came back for 15th. And Wes McCoy, he brought out the first caution after spinning around over there in turn 3. And he brings it home inside of the top 20 in 16th place. Some finishes much better than what a number of these drivers were looking like they were destined to get in this race. You look on down through the remainder of the finisher results, and obviously the big one that stands out is Roberto Crown Jr. That car got mired back in traffic, didn't qualify well, never made his way up anywhere towards the front, finishes in the 29th position. He came in for 1 week as the new points leader. He will no longer be the points leader going into Kentucky. And a tough break there for Chris Dollerton. Dollerton, 1 lap down, had to serve the pass-through penalty for passing under yellow, never was able to get that lap back. Finishes the race, but so did everybody else. So he finishes 1 lap down in the 31st position, and Dollerton was a driver that we were talking about in that same conversation, like Nathan Stapleton and others who could point their way still conceivably up into the top 7 in overall standings. Craig Batson as well. We haven't talked a whole lot about that 91 ever since he got that victory back at Texas, but we do have to keep an eye on him now because Craig obviously ended up starting the season late, so he found himself at a points deficit from the rest of the field. He still finds himself down 26th in the point standings. That is the lowest of the full-time drivers. Those 3 starts he missed at the beginning of the season really have hurt him, and he has not yet made any forward progress in the point standings. I mentioned about the fact that he was close to maybe starting to pick up some positions in the standings, but he is not yet been able to do that. And a 30th place finish here, I don't really know if it's conceivable with 5 races left, unless he can get a second victory to get a wild card spot. That's really, I think, the only shot that Craig Batson has right now to be able to have any possible shot of getting into the postseason. But there's still 5 races to go. Anything can happen. We'll have to wait and see how it all plays out. But a couple other drivers that we really didn't talk about here today. Dylan Young, Cup Series driver in that All-Star car. We didn't really mention his name hardly at all. Skylar Taylor, another poor performance for the 29 car. I don't know what they have to do to get the season turned around for him, because we saw him catch fire after a limited number of starts last season in lights, and we said, hey, if he runs full-time next season, keep an eye on him. He's going to be one to watch. He came out at Daytona with the checkered flag. We're like, yep, there it is. Skylar Taylor's going to be a championship contender, and now he's outside the top 7 in points. He's going to drop even further in the point standings after this one with the bad run. He was 11th in points coming to this one. He's even going to be in the wild card conversation. He's even going to be in a playoff spot when we get to Kentucky. I don't know. We'll have to find all that out here when the points are calculated up. But Nathan Stapleton certainly appears that he would be in the playoffs conversation now. We'll have to see where this race victory, first of his career, is going to position him, as now these drivers get ready for a little bit of a break before in 3 weeks' time they continue on their regular season. They're pushed towards the playoffs at Kentucky Speedway. Thank you all for tuning in to today's race here from the Chicago Motor Speedway, though. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We have shown you full feature results. You're now looking at your point standings heading into Kentucky. We will see the Cup drivers here on track tomorrow afternoon at 1. Be sure to join us for that one to cap off what's been an incredible race weekend from the Chicago Motor Speedway. And then, of course, we'll see the Cup Series drivers for the next 2 weeks before these Lights drivers join them in 3 weeks' time. Until we see you guys, whether it's tomorrow afternoon or the next Lights race, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, Offline Racing at its best.
The following has been a presentation of NNSCRA TV for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the consent of the NNSCRA is prohibited. NNSCRA would like to thank all of our loyal fans, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.